they have stories to tell. Please welcome Ken and Cordi.
Storytelling begins in 4 seconds. Storytelling begins in 3 seconds. Storytelling begins in 2 seconds. Storytelling now begins. For the record, I did become a disc jockey for this university, Kent State University, but I also became a teacher. And for 14 years, I have the pleasure of teaching high school. But I want to go back to the time when I was in high school. When I was telling Allie the stories that I could tell, she said, make sure you tell this one. I was 17. I could rule the world. I was 17. Nothing bothered me. We were planning to go to the largest amusement park in the country, Cedar. Point Plaque, if you've been there. I know, 13 roller coasters at least when I was there. There were all kinds of roller coasters. The one that everybody wanted to go to was the Gemini. But I wanted to go to the Blue Streak. I said, I'm going to go to the Blue Streak, and all my friends went to the Gemini, and you know, they're an hour-and-a-half-hour-long wait. So I waited, and I waited by myself at the Blue Streak, and I began to talk to the people in line. I'm a storyteller, what else can I do? And I looked around, and I started talking to this person, and he was telling me he was a missionary, and that he'd been all over the world, and he was doing God's work, and I was really interested because the closest I had been was Cedar Point, not Africa. And so I looked at him and I said very seriously, you know that I'm going to be the first car. You do know that. I'm going to be the first car. And I don't know if you did it, but I count down all those people so that I could be the first car on the Blue Streak. And I was counting, and it was an hour-long wait. So the count changed, and all of a sudden, it happened. We were up. I was the second car. The missionary was the first. And indeed, he did God's work, and he said, do you want to trade? I said, yes! And I got there. And I got into the first car, and I put on my seatbelt. But it didn't work. When I was 17 years old and seatbelt didn't bother me, I wasn't worried about it. They were putting everybody else in and closing those bars. And I was telling the missionary, I'm having a great time, it's fun, I'm the first car, it's fantastic, my friends at the Gemini are going to envy me. And the car began to move. That's when they closed the bar down. And when we were going up the hill, I noticed the bar did not work. The seatbelt did not work. The bar did not work. I'm only 17 years old! I've got more life to live! What's going on? The bar will not work! The seatbelt will not work! What will I do? What will I do? And the car was going forward. I'm going to die! I'm going to die! I don't want to die! And the missionary said, what's wrong? And I said, I'm going to die! I don't want to die! Let him go! And we were scared. Our faces were full light. And we were sitting there, and it was going further up the hill. I don't know if you've been on top of that one, but it's strong. And it's only one major hill. And it goes for 1 minute and 37 seconds. I'm going to die. I'm at the top of the hill. I'm looking at my life. I'm looking down with a bar full of and a seatbelt that doesn't work. I am now going down. And I race out of the car. My body completely leaves the vehicle. I am holding on with my ankles. I'm going to die! And I hear behind me, Jesus loves you. I know for the Bible. Yes, he does! Yes, he does! And I am getting bruised and battered. There's blood pouring from my knees. I am flying like Superman that didn't want to be Superman. 1 minute, 37 seconds. The ride ends. And I look up. And I am battered. My hands are on a death grip, literally. The missionary helps me out. I can only muster up these words to the other 17-year-old attendant. This don't work. And I walked out, and the story could end there. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it does not. You see, I worked at Cedar Point a few years later while I was attending this university. And they have the largest Ferris wheel in the world. Single Ferris wheel. And it was a clear, bright July day. And I got on the Ferris wheel. And it began to rain. And it began to pour. And it began to thunder. And that's when I see lightning hit the tree next to the Ferris wheel. And I hear, we're going to stop the ride at the present time. And I'm at the top of the Ferris wheel. In pouring rain. We don't know when we'll start again. Get comfortable. And I'm at the top of the Ferris wheel. And I was there for 1 hour and a half, just waiting in my uniform. And after being completely soaked, we're going to try to move the Ferris wheel. What? Somehow, I got off the Ferris wheel. I wish I could tell you that story stops here, but it does not. I later was at Geauga Lake Park, and they had a smaller Ferris wheel called the Rocco Blade, and it was an egg-shaped Ferris wheel that would turn upside down. And I was riding this with my brother, who is my big brother, who used to, well, he was hitting blocks. I remember trying to dodge the sun. And we got up the Ferris wheel, and all of a sudden the door flew open, and I was falling out. And I'll never forget Michael. He reached in, he grabbed me by the shirt of the collar, and he said, "Get in here! Why'd you do that?" I would love to tell you that this story stops here, but it does not. But you see, at Geauga Lake, they have the witch's wheel, which was another type of Ferris wheel, but it went around and around. And this was when I was a kid, very young kid. My mother only rode those slow rides. I don't know if you have those parents. And the witch's wheel goes up at rampaging speed, but slows down. And I said to my mom, "Let's go on that." And she said, "Is it slow?" I said, "Look, Mom, and it was slowing down. So my mother got on the witch's wheel, and they cramp you up like sardines, they move you all the way, there's like 6 people beside that big, you know. And we started to go. Mom, it's a little faster, and it started to move, and it started to move. And I have never in my life heard my mother scream as loud as when she was on the witch's wheel. The next thing that I'm yelling is, stop! I think my mother's having a heart attack! I was scared. I had put her on this ride. It was going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and went down. And I picked her up, and she sat out the entire rest of the day, not to mention lunch. And now, I'd like to tell you this story stop here, but I like to also think that it begins here. For you see, I've taught for 14 years, I'm now teaching in the university, and I can never predict where my life is going to go. Whether I'm working with a student that maybe has been going just a little too fast and slows down. Or I'm working with someone who puts someone else on the ride. Or sometimes when you least expect it, they switch places and you're first instead of second. I think life is indeed like teaching. A roller coaster that for a minute and 37 seconds might be amazing. But there's also those times to slow down and think about that minute and 37 seconds. It is well worth the ride because it's just